Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to a new episode of Chatting with Lady C. Hello, Mum, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you, honey. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
I see we're colour coordinated.
Yes, purple today.
Oh, what a fluke, eh?
Yeah.
It's amazing how we sometimes just seem to get it right.
I think it's just the nice colours.
Yes.
Purple, blue,
Mm-hmm.
sort of the colours that a lot of people wear.
Yes, yes. And Mickey, of course, is here to jolly us along. Okay, so
Yes.
are you going to hit me with lots of juicy, good questions?
Yes. Alright, so for our first question today, Lady C, could you please explain why Diana had the title princess but Duchess Catherine doesn't have the title princess?
Well, it's very simple, really. All of the Queen's children and some of the Queen's grandchildren, let me simplify it. Anybody who has HRH is a prince or princess, but not all princes and princesses have the title prince. They have a title that supersedes prince. So a royal duke is better than a royal prince. For instance, His Royal Highness the Duke of Kent is the elder brother of Prince Michael of Kent. So if you get two royals, one is a duke, the other is a prince, it means that the royal duke supersedes the royal prince, except with the title Prince of Wales. The Queen's son and heir, or the King's son and heir, male, it has to be male, is appointed the Prince of Wales. That is the most important title in the land after King or Queen. So Diana was the wife of the Prince of Wales, so she was the Princess of Wales. Catherine is the wife of Prince William, now the Duke of Cambridge. So she is the Duchess of Cambridge, but not, she is a princess, actually. Her rank is Princess of the United Kingdom, but her title is Duchess of Cambridge. When Prince Charles accedes to the throne, automatically Prince William will become the Duke of Cornwall, and it would be expected that after a reasonable length of time, he will also be appointed Prince of Wales. That's how it's done.
Okay.
Interesting?
Yes, that one bit, yes.
Oh, good, good.
Alright, so for our next one is from Charlie Ray. Please speak more about Camilla. She is getting trolled online because of the crown. I feel misogyny is at play here, because why is she taking all the blame for the breakup of Charles and Diana? She's becoming the most hated woman all over again. Why is it that Diana can have multiple affairs and she's a saint, but Charles has one affair and marries the woman, making a good woman out of her? The public hates Camilla, and I feel it's unfairly based. I also don't believe someone needs to hate Camilla to prove love and loyalty to Diana.
I agree. I agree with absolutely everything that Charlie Ray has said. I agree with it. I think it's very unfair. I also do think, though, that Diana set up the situation.
Mm-hmm.
Had Diana gone with my version of events, which was the truth, none of this would have happened. And indeed, she might still be alive, because the course of history would have been completely different.
Mm-hmm.
But she wanted to walk with her privileges intact, and to do that, she needed to have, she thought, a victim narrative. So she made herself into Charles and Camilla's victim,
Mm-hmm.
which was completely unfair. I think the whole thing is deeply regrettable. I think it's highly irresponsible of the makers of the crown. Camilla deserves much better than that. Yes, she and Charles had an affair. Their affair did not break up the marriage. Charles and Diana's marriage was over before he resumed his affair with Camilla.
Mm-hmm.
I know that's a narrative that doesn't suit a lot of people to believe,
Mm-hmm.
because they want to believe that the higher the rank of the person, the nastier they are,
Mm-hmm.
and that anybody who is of an inferior rank, born or as a result of whatever, because I mean, actually, Diana and Charles were of an equal rank, but she was very clever to play the victim, and I'm just an earl's daughter, and therefore, I'm one of the people, sort of thing,
Mm-hmm.
which was completely unfair and also untrue. I mean, she was not one of the people. She was one of the most privileged people in the country. But it's the underdog syndrome, and it plays very well because then people sympathize with the underdog, and they think, oh, these overdogs are so mean and beastly, and life is unfair, and we have a difficult life, and they have a difficult life too, but their lives are difficult because some of the ones in a superior position are really mean to the ones who are more defenseless, and it's not true. So I think on that note, I think that's about it in a nutshell. And I think the crown is extremely irresponsible. And the truth is, people like to hate. Some people like to hate. It's true, isn't it?
Very true.
They just like to hate, and they want to have someone to kick.
And be nasty about it.
Yeah, And I mean, so Diana had countless lovers. Diana broke up the Collins marriage. You don't hear anything about that. Charles did not break up Camilla's marriage. Camilla did not break up Charles's marriage. Why don't people just accept the fact that you can actually like Diana? And Diana was in many ways a nice person. And she did do a certain amount of good.
Mm-hmm.
And she deserved sympathy, but not for being Charles's victim, for being the victim of a very troubled background and all the consequences that flowed from that. But people don't want to be fair. They don't, a lot of people don't. They just want to, let's kick the nearest dog. It's cruel. It's cruel. So,
yeah.
What do you think?
No, I think it is cruel, like, because if this has happened and now just because of the series come out and then being, like, going back onto our back about a story that's, like, many, many, many years ago.
And also it was
cruel.
never fair. Yeah, sorry, go on.
No, it's just being cruel.
It is.
It's coming back to that.
It is.
All right. So for our next question today is from BC. Lady C, I have been looking at old videos and photos of Princess Diana and Prince Charles shortly after and during the early years of their marriage. In the videos, Diana conducts herself perfectly. She demurs to Charles, IMHO.
Whatever that means.
I don't.
What is that? Doesn't matter, go on.
It's one of those.
I do wish people wouldn't use anagrams because I never know what they mean.
Me too. I have to look them up. So, Charles, IMHO, has never looked happier, healthier, maybe youthful, glow. It seems to me he seems amused at the press and attention they received on tour, etc. He seems to really like Diana's increasingly beautiful looks, style and well put togetherness. She seems to be his arm's candy. He at times seems to convey, how did I end up with someone as beautiful and well turned out as her? For example, when she speaks Italian to an Italian journalist when they were in Italy, he looks happy and proud of her. He also seemed to dress better, I think. She made him dress up. his game and far as dress and deportment. I don't think Diana's observation interest in beauty products or fashion was frivolous. I think Charles really loved the way she looked. I think she may have always tried to look her best as a result. What do you think?
I think those are very interesting and shrewd observations. Yes, in the early days of the marriage, Charles beamed with pride. Charles, in some ways, was like his grandfather George VI with Princess Margaret, who couldn't believe he'd produced such a beautiful child. And there was a strong element of that. Charles beamed with pride with Diana. And despite the troubles in the marriage, which started very early on because of the bulimia and her volatility, they were very committed to each other, and there was a lot of love and affection there in the early days. And he was very proud of her. He was thrilled that she was so well received. She is the one in the early days who found it difficult to cope and objected to the tremendous degree of attention. He was not the one who was objecting to it. She was objecting to it. And that's very important. And he did have a lot of pride in her. And she did up his ante where dressing was concerned. It became a bit of a problem because she made him over entirely. And that was one of the things actually that ended up alienating him, because she made him dress in a different way. She made him have different friends. She even made him give away his dog. So, it caused a problem, but it definitely upped his game for a while, at least while they were together. And yes, Diana did consider her appearance to be a part of her armory in terms of her public image and what she wished to convey. And she was a very important feature in British fashion. And this was a valid part of her role, and she played it very well. But she also liked being beautiful, and she liked being glamorous. So, very shrewd observations, very shrewd. And you've picked up, Charlie Ray, a lot of the nuances that elude most people. And you're right, they're there for all to see if they just look at the old videos and look without prejudiced eyes.
It's a very good observation.
It is, isn't it? Yeah.
All right, so for our next one is from June Hitchcock. Isn't Ascot in June, not July?
Ascot is a racecourse. Ascot is a town.
As well.
Yeah. Ascot exists all year round. Royal Ascot is the third week of June. It used to be Tuesday to Friday. Now it's Tuesday to Saturday. Royal Ascot is not the same thing as Ascot. I think that June Hitchcock is harkening back to my comment about when I saw Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother, and the Queen. It was for the King George VI and Queen Elizabeth stakes, which take place in July at Ascot Racecourse. Ascot Racecourse, if I recall correctly, was created by Queen Anne, and it is the Queen's racetrack. It's the Queen's racecourse. And so people confuse Ascot with Royal Ascot, but they are two entirely separate things.
Yes. Well, Ascot, the race course, you can go any weekend. Well, any time they have a race on.
Yeah.
And Ascot is just that once a year event.
Yeah. Do you like Royal Ascot?
I do. I do not bet, but I enjoy it. Be around friends, and a lot of people go as well, so you actually bump into a lot of people, so that's very nice. So even if you go with a group, you end up actually also maybe adding to a group, or people swapping and changing, so it's not a boring day.
It's fun, isn't it?
It is.
I mean, I've been going since 1976. I've been giving my picnics since, I think, 1979. That's 41 years.
Yes.
And I've only ever missed 2 years. Oh, my picnics are normally on Ladies' Day, as you know. And I missed in 1994. Anyway, one of the 1990s. I had to go to Italy to do something for some book that I was publishing. And they demanded that I go just that day. So I had to cancel the picnic. And of course, this year there was no Royal Ascot,
Yes,
so
well,
no
this
picnic.
this is not our fault of not going though.
No.
I might have not gone this year anyway.
Really?
Yeah, because I wasn't supposed to go last year, but you made me come with you. So this year I might not have done it.
Am I not a beastly mummy?
Yes.
Such a brute.
Mm.
Next question,
Right.
honey.
Lady C, you mentioned there is no Balmoral test, but there was a fishing test mentioned by Stephen Barry, valet to Prince Charles, in his book Royal Service. He said that Prince Charles would take girls fishing in the River Dee for hours, many of them bored out of their minds, and if they were able to endure that, that was considered to be a good start for a match. I believe Diana did this, and pretended that she enjoyed it tremendously. What do you think of Stephen Barry and the others who worked for the Prince and Princess of Wales, who wrote books about their time in service?
Stephen Barry was Prince Charles's long-standing and trusted valet, who Diana shoved out as soon as the wedding ring was on her finger. Stephen Barry, the friend of mine who used to work in Prince Charles's office, was very chummy with Stephen Barry. And Stephen Barry told her, and she was full of stories about him driving Diana for nighttime assignations with Prince Charles at Highgrove, when Highgrove, this was before they got married, when Highgrove was effectively a shell, because it was being done up, and she had a lot of input into how it was done up. In fact, she had more input than Prince Charles did. I didn't know Stephen Barry. He was before my time, and Diana shoved him out because she resented the fact that he knew Prince Charles so well, that he actually knew Prince Charles better than she did. She also had a policy of her life and his life began when they got married. This was her belief and her game plan. She effectively severed connections with all of her friends and made him do the same. She also severed connections with many of his employees, including Stephen Barry, who had never signed the Official Secrets Act. Stephen Barry got AIDS, and he died of AIDS. He was one of the early deaths from AIDS. He wrote a book about his time with the Prince of Wales. There was nothing nasty about it. He didn't betray any secrets, but it was very informative. He disliked Diana intensely, and she disliked him intensely. she felt threatened by him, according to the friend of mine, because he knew too much, she used to say. And which, what, you want to come up? Come on. She used to say he knew too much, and that bothered her, which, you know, she was 20 years old, so you can forgive her for immature thought processes, because you're very young at 20. So, but anyway, then Wendy Barry, the housekeeper at Highgrove, also wrote a book in America. I think the Official Secrets Act did apply to her, but so the book was never able to be published in England, but it was published in America. And again, there was nothing, you know, she didn't trash Charles or Diana. So I think their thinking was, the royals write their memoirs. Why can't we write our memoirs? I think with Stephen Barry there was rather more merit to it than with Wendy Barry. I think her name was Wendy Barry. I just realised what a coincidence it was that they both had the same name. Because, of course, they weren't related at all.
So our final question for today is from Joyce Walters. How is the investigation into Diana's Panorama interview driving a wedge between the sons? Surely it should be bringing them together.
Yes, well, it should be bringing them together. I mean, they have a lot of common interest, or should have a lot of common interest, where obtaining justice for their mother is concerned. But you know, trust is a very delicate thing. And Harry has behaved in such a way that it's difficult to trust his reactions and to trust the result of any intentions in the future. So the problem with doing what Harry has done, you know, making the announcement of Megxit, then informing the royal family that it was going to be made, briefing against the Queen, briefing against William and Catherine, is that you can love your brother, but there's a difference between loving someone and trusting them. And somebody who has shown himself to be unreliable, unpredictable, and untrustworthy, and who jumps the gun for his and his wife's own agenda and in their self-interest, is not somebody that you can then spin around and trust unless you're stupid or unless you're batting on his team. And the only person who's batting on his team with him is Meghan. And in fact, it's Meghan's team that he's batting on. And they have broken so many sacred areas of trust by trying to outsmart and outmaneuver everybody, that I understand that any coming together may be a band-aid on a gaping wound, and it's only a matter of time before the blood from the wound loosens the band-aid and the band-aid falls off. So I think that's human nature. You don't trust people once they've betrayed you. You just don't. And even if you have common interests and you come together for a fight, you know that the person who is in this fight, your ally, in another situation is also your enemy. So you it's a very difficult thing to have members of a family who you know are basically your adversaries.
Mm.
It's very difficult. I know it to my own personal cost. Very difficult. What do
Yeah,
you think?
no, I totally agree because they have to be careful what they say against them because they can spill anything they want on them. So they have to be careful because if they want to be nasty towards them, they can be nasty as much as they want. They, like they've said, they're out. They want to be out. So they could say anything they want and keep also their stuff private, but stay nasty stuff on their side and keep themselves well out of it.
Well, that, of course, is exactly what has been happening for the whole of this year.
Mm-hmm.
Briefing against, getting their PR people to brief against Catherine, William, the Queen. Who does that? Old woman think she is telling us what to do.
Mm.
I mean, who is she? Who is she? Who the heck does she think she is? Just because she's the Queen of England? I mean, honestly, this is. I mean, really, she doesn't know her place. It's at my feet. I mean,
Yeah.
it's folie de grandeur. It's a form of insanity.
Mm.
But it's also something that's happened and it's out there for the world to see. So I would have thought it's very unlikely, no matter what happens, that the shattered vase that has been glued together is going to hold water the way it used to. And on that note, I think I'll say thank you very much for your questions. I hope it's been of interest to you. Please keep sending in the questions, and thanks for them.
Well, thank you everybody, and we hope you enjoyed this episode. And if you did, please hit the like button, subscribe, and share with your friends. Thank you very much, and goodbye.